Thank you.
Welcome, everybody. We're going to open with this song by George Rogers.
My words did glow with the gold of sunshine, and my tunes were played on the harp unstrung. Would you hear my voice coming through the music? Would you hold it as it were your own? It's a hand-me-down. The thoughts are broken. Perhaps it's better left unsung. I just don't know. Don't even care. Let there be song to fill the air. Ripple and still water, where there was no pebble toss, no wind to blow. Reach out your hand. If your cup be empty, if your cup be full, may it be again. Let it be known that there is a fountain that was not made by the hand of man. Ripple and still water, where there was no pebble toss, no wind to blow. La 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 la. If I knew the way, I would take you home. Let's go. If I knew the way, I would take you home.
Good morning. I'm Christy Carr, practitioner for the day. I'd like to welcome you to the Center for Spiritual Living, where we inspire and empower people to live spiritually fulfilling lives. The practitioners in service today are Mary and I, and we'll meet you by the bell after service for prayer work. Please turn and wave to the camera. And as we do, I'd like to invite the children up. I'd like to thank all the wonderful members in service today. Lindy, the board member, Steve. Thank you, Steve. I believe Jill's doing the bookstore and children's church. We got kitchen cookies. George Rogers and Judy. And our ushers, Ronnie and Doug. And our greeter, Kristen. Please silence your cell phones. If you're a newcomer with us today, we invite you to raise your hand. Any new? Right here. We'll have an usher bring both of you a book, or you can get one after service if you'd like. Right here. And welcome. If you'd like a tour of the grounds after church or after the service, Kristen will be happy to take you on that journey. She'll be right up here by the bell as well. Focus announcements. Let's do this. So for our announcements today, we have, as you see, the art and collectible sales going on right now. We've reduced some prices on the big paintings. So they are $200, I believe. Just check the price just to make sure, though. One of the featured artists is John Boyd May, and he is a friend of mine, is his daughter, and he was a big painter in the Bay Area in the late 60s, early 70s, and she was nice enough to donate these paintings to the center. So I'm grateful for that. He was also in the National Geographic in 1972. The men's group will be with Roy Wolfstead Monday, March 27th from 7 to 9. The men's group is centered around discussions and creating friendship among the men in the community. And then Saturday, May 1st, we're going to have an all-center Save-A-Day. So, April 1st. April Fools. So what we're going to do is have everybody come in and help clean the center and make it all spick and span for our spring clean. And we'll have a list of things that you can choose to go from. And we would really appreciate everybody that can come that day. And it's from 9 a.m. to 12. The tide, I did it. The dye of watercolor, exploring elements of the composition for original watercolor paintings. This class is with Sherry and Wyndham, starting Monday, April 3rd, 9:30 to 12. In this 5-week class, She will be teaching you an exploration into the basic dynamics for creating original watercolor paintings by focusing on watercolor composition. Self-mastery. I will be starting this class. It's called Self-Mastery, Emergence of the True Self. It starts Thursday, April 6th from 5:30 to 8. And through an active exploration, yes, of the creative nature of thought and feelings, beliefs and emotions, the students have an opportunity to gain mastery in the art of living. So I would really welcome you to come to this class. It's very informative. And of course, I'm teaching it. So beads, beads, beads. We have unofficially, but soon officially, going to change that to beads and more because we have outgrown the beads, which will still be there. But we're moving into more stuff, so it's just expanding and it's growing and it's wonderful. And this is on Saturday, April 8th from 1 to 4, and we come and we supply the beads and we supply some, I see some hands up there. We also supply snacks and music, and it's fabulous. It's a wonderful time. On Easter, we're going to have Easter Joy, Sunday, April 9th, from 10 a.m. service. Join us for the music and uplifting message that inspires us to live joy. I believe there'll be festivities for the children, so please let us know how many children will be coming if you'll be bringing your kids, so we make sure that they are all included. Now, we'll have a reading by Lori, followed by the bell and a treatment by Shirley, and then our wonderful speaker, Sue.
A woman was studying the book of Malachi from the Old Testament in the Bible, and she took particular interest in chapter 3, verse 3, which says, "He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver." She was puzzled by the verse and, wanting to understand the process of purifying silver, visited a silversmith and watched him work. As she watched the silversmith, he held a piece of silver over the fire and let it heat up. He explained that in refining silver, one needed to hold the silver in the middle of the fire where the flames were hottest so as to burn away all the impurities. The woman thought again about the verse. He sits as a refiner and purifier of silver. She asked the silversmith if it was true that he had to sit there in front of the fire the whole time the silver was being refined. The man answered that yes, he not only had to sit there holding the silver, but he had to keep his eye on the silver the entire time it was in the fire. If the silver were left even a moment too long in the flames, it would be destroyed. The woman was silent for a moment. Then she asked the silversmith, "How do you know when the silver is fully refined?" He smiled at her and answered, "Oh, that's easy. It's finished when I can see my image in it."
Together, right in this moment, we contemplate the presence of the Mother, Father, God within, the source of our very being. One love, one power, one presence, We observe our lives at times, and we wonder if we're making wise decisions, doing the best that we should. And then we turn within, opening to the wisdom of the higher self. And then there's a moment of release and certainty that the wisdom of Spirit is within, guiding and directing us, and the assurance that all is well. Then we're aware of our courage, our wisdom, and we have a warm sense of self-compassion. We recognize our oneness with the divine. We're at peace. Our mind is still as we release our words to the law with the clear knowing that all is well. And so together we say, and so it is.
Thank you, Shirley. Thank you, Christy. And Mary, the bell. The bell is always so important. Good morning, everyone. We are wrapping up the month of talking about cultivating authenticity. And I appreciate today's title, No Approval Needed. Oh, it's such a three easy words, right? 3 easy words, no approval needed. But if you're like me, we're always kind of seeking it, right? Just to be validated, just to feel like, are you with me? Are you out there? Are you with me? So Carolyn Mace writes this, an essential step to establishing self-worth is to become someone who does not need approval from others, to feel good about oneself. Experiences of rejection accompany this challenge because we start off in life being taught how to please others. So that is a powerful statement, and when preparing for the Sage workshop this weekend, I was doing my favorite, Ram Dass. I was one of his books. He's always just speaks my language, and he was reminding me of those charts that you had when you were kids. They're probably still doing this today, where you get a star for how good you are. I don't know when those charts just stop happening, but all of a sudden, nobody's putting a star on anything that you're doing. So I don't know, we grow out of those. But that's how it all starts. We begin to kind of feel good about ourselves by how far across our star chart is in those beginning days. So there's a very beautiful what is it called? Affirmation, just one or two words that you could be saying to yourself this week. And it so reminds me of Saturday Night Live when Stewart used to get to the mirror and say, I'm good enough, I'm balanced enough. But this is, I am worthy, I am loved, and I am enough. And I think just that last one, I'm enough. Just starting your day, I'm enough here. I woke up. I'm going to put a star on the mirror because I woke up and I'm enough. And then go out into your day. But just like Carolyn May says, when we open up to this, we're opening up to a sense of our own vulnerability, a potential of rejection, a potential of not being understood. So, no approval needed then. Why is there that little nagging voice asking us on occasion, are we? Are we good enough? It comes up quietly. It comes up sometimes by surprise. So I'm going to share about my own journey with this week. Every time I prepare a talk, it seems like in my face, all the things I'm talking about, I'm working through as I stand and share with you. That's authenticity as well, when you start to realize, well, this is me in this story. So I was having one of those good days where even my hair felt like it was cooperating. I thought, oh, look at it. I suddenly have thick hair. Oh dear. How is that? And then I felt like, I felt just those days where you just feel good in your skin. Even though I've been gimping around here for the past year with some issues, I was just feeling like it's all okay. It's all okay. I don't care if anybody says what's wrong with you today. I just feel like I'm going to just live this day and feel this sense of self-worth. And then something happened, though. Something happened that even though that day before I felt this deep joy and this contentment, the next day I had to wake up and it wasn't there. It was gone. And I think it had to do with the self-sabotage that maybe you feel in your own that you might be doing, but I needed to go see a specialist about my hip. And that morning, nothing was right about me. My hair got thin again, and I kept thinking, what? No matter how much boom makeup I was putting on, I thought, why you still look so tired? And I kept, reapplying more makeup until I had way too much mascara on. And I thought, okay, this isn't working. I just kept trying to paint myself into something different. But all the while, no matter what was going on, that ER that I've told you about, that ER part of me, oh, well, always me, you're going to go there and you're going to have to tell the doctor all your stuff. And I hate that. I just hate to be on an exam table and have people poke at me and me have to tell the story, and I don't even know if they're really listening. So I get all worked up and kind of grouchy even before I go into this appointment. But I went anyway, and of course I re-answered all the questions that I'd written down. I even added some anecdote that I thought they might want to know, and they completely talked over me, and I felt invisible, and I thought, this isn't going well. And it continued to go downhill from there. Have you ever had those days? It just seems like you're really trying. You really are. You showed up. You went anyway. This is what is. And then I had to get on the scale. Well, that did it. That did it. It was a cold day, so I had a heavy jacket, and I had my big Hoka tennis shoes on, and I was just feeling big. And then that scale showed me I was big. And I thought, I did not need to know that. And I wanted to explain to the girl, that's not the way it is at home. No, that's not the way. Can I try that one again? And she could care less. She just was on task. These are the moments where what's so meaningful to us is nobody else really cares. So all of that self-talk was just allowing me to realize how insecurity was escalating in me. And it came out of nowhere at first. And then I realized, whose body is this? What is going on here? And then I realized, so I explored it. I said, okay, I'm not liking myself here, and I'm feeling shame and blame for not being good enough here and not taking care of myself. One of the reasons, when people say, why do you want to retire? And one of the reasons was to take care of myself. And I thought, so I'm going to blame the universe on this one. But it was like a virus just moving through me. It just kind of got a hold of me. But once I was able to give it attention and name it, it started to move away from that self-hate talk, that disappointment, whatever that demon was in me that was shattering my sense of self, began to calm down, and I realized that I was being real in the moment, and I was really looking at everything exactly as it was. And I just needed to go into the deep work now of embracing myself just as I am. Gimpy, chubby, weird hair, whatever was going on, I just thought, I am in this now. This is me. And I can even love me enough and show up and let this burden be released, or I can still go into that pity party. So I started to, this is all happening while the doctor's talking. Well, the doctor comes, that was the tech, and then the doctor comes in, and I'm like, oh my God, he's like 17. And Prish, you know who he is, right? He's like 17. Oh my God. I just was like, everything just went, oh well, I have to show my big old white hip to him and struggle to get on that table and try to look elegant and cute. And I was just really grateful I had my cute underwear on. But it was, the whole thing was this moment of surrender. And he was so compassionate and kind. Pris had recommended him, and there it was. I got my steroid shot. So it's either the steroids that have made me feel better about myself, I'm not quite sure, but it was a moment of self-evaluation and taking responsibility. And yesterday when we were working with the sage work, a lot of it is dealing with your shadow, and I realized, because I entertain all of this wealth of information, I'm very fascinated with Brene Brown, and so I'm used to the language. I wasn't at one time. I couldn't understand what a shadow was. And I realized I was speaking that language to some of the people yesterday, and they weren't quite sure what shadow was until I would tell my story about something where I had a lifetime of a little shame, a big shame on something, and how you just bury it down. Let's just stuff that away and don't let anybody ever know that happened. That's shadow. That's where you put it somewhere. And eventually it's going to come up for you to heal that, to face that. So Brene Brown, she writes this book, The Gifts of Imperfection. And her story, and I want you to feel this story as I share it, because I know we've all been there. You can change the scenario, you can change the room that she describes, but it's universal. So she was invited by a principal to a large public elementary school, and the president of the school's parent-teacher organization, the PTO, invited her to speak to the parents about the relationship between resilience and boundaries. And that's right up her alley because she does all this research. And so she was already in the process of collecting a whole bunch of data about this, and she is excited for the opportunity to share this wisdom, to be a part of the healing that was needed. But she had no idea really, other than the invitation, what she was getting into. And the second she walked into that auditorium, she felt really strange vibes. Been there? All of a sudden you're thinking, I don't think this is a very welcoming group. And then she said that the parents that were all filling the audience, she said, before she even began, they all seemed agitated. Right off the bat, agitated. So she asked the principal, that principal she just shrugged, and she walked away. The PTO president didn't have much to say about it either. So Brene was chalking it up to just her own personal nerves. Maybe she was just reading too much into the audience. So she was sitting in the front row, the principal introducing her. It was a very awkward experience. Someone is running through a list of my accomplishments while I'm secretly trying to stave off vomiting and taking myself out and running away. Well, this introduction was beyond anything I had ever experienced. The principal was saying things like, "You might not like what you're going to hear tonight, but we need to listen for the sake of our children. Dr. Brown is here to transform our school and our lives. She's going to get us straight whether we like it or not." Oh, hello, come on up to the stage now. That's really inviting. And she was talking in this loud, aggressive voice that made her seem downright, I always have to clean up Brene's language a little bit. I was telling somebody about this. Anyway, very, very angry. I'll just leave it there. I felt like I was being introduced for a WWE wrestling mania. All that was needed were the jock jams and a few strobe lights. In hindsight, I should have walked up to the podium and said, now hindsight is often your intuition, right? and we didn't listen. But she says, I was feeling uncomfortable. She said, I wish I had got up there and said this. I'm feeling very uncomfortable. I'm excited to be here, but I'm certainly not here to set anyone straight. I also don't want you to think I'm trying to transform your school in an hour and what's going on. That's what she wishes she had said. But I didn't. She said she just started talking in my vulnerable, I am a researcher, but I am also a struggling parent way. When the die had been cast, these parents were not receptive. Instead, the whole front row were glaring at her. So don't glare at me right now. Just keep that smile going. One man was sitting right up front, his arms folded on his chest, his teeth clenched so tight that the veins in his neck were popping out. This is the kind of thing I see every week. Every 3 or 4 minutes, he'd shift in his seat, roll his eyes, and sigh louder than I've ever heard anyone sigh. It was so loud that I'm barely comfortable calling it a sigh. It was more like a harumph. It was so bad that the people next to him were visibly mortified by his behavior. They were inexplicably unhappy with me, but he was making the entire evening even more unbearable. As an experienced teacher and group leader, I know how to handle these situations normally, and normally I'm comfortable doing so. But when someone is being disruptive, you really only have 2 choices. Ignore it, or take a break so you can privately confront that person about the inappropriate behavior. But I was knocked off my game by this weird experience that I did the very worst thing possible. Guess what that was? I tried to impress him. Oops. See the way our authenticity, we just start selling our soul. So then she said, I started talking louder and getting really animated. I quoted scary research stats that would freak any parent out. I served up my authenticity for one big old helping of, you better listen to me or your kids are going to drop out of 3rd grade and take up hitchhiking, drugs, and running with scissors. But nothing, nada. I didn't get even a head nod or even a grin. So I managed to freak out about 250 already angry parents. It was a disaster. Trying to co-op or win over someone was like a guy. It's always a mistake because it means trading your authenticity for approval. You stop believing in your worthiness and start hustling for it. And oh man, I was hustling. Been there? Change the story a little bit, but there are times, and it could even be in your own Thanksgiving dinner table. You know something's going south, but you still try. So her story brings to light to me a breakthrough of awareness that we can take away with us today, because it's so important to understand ourselves. And it's essential to understand that so that we can live and express ourselves wholeheartedly. So even though all that was going on, like she said, in hindsight, I should have. But this idea of embracing our tenderness, embracing those moments where we do feel vulnerable and we don't feel like we're enough. Think about it, continuing through this message today. How much gets done and what's left undone really doesn't define any one of us. We're always still enough. So think about that at the end of every day. I didn't do anything today. How lovely. How lovely. Did you enjoy it? Yeah. I know somebody in here was telling me, oh, she just loves to knit. She could knit her whole day away. Just knit, knit, knit. How lovely. How lovely to do exactly what you want. Huh? What was that? So, what the wisdom, though, what Brene is pointing out, shame is an intense, painful feeling of believing that somehow we are flawed, that something about us is unworthy of love. Something about us is unworthy of belonging. She also shares that shame needs 3 things to grow out of control in our lives. Secrecy, not ever telling anyone that you're feeling it. Silence, judgment. it's important to share your stories. That's why we do these groups. That's why men's group is so strong. Women's groups, women's retreats. We have a platform, the Sage Group, a platform to share your story. And then shame loses its power. As soon as you speak it into the circle, once it's spoken, it no longer has any grip on you. Owning our own story can be hard, but not nearly as difficult as spending our lives running from it. Embracing our vulnerabilities is risky, but not nearly as dangerous as giving up on love and belonging and joy. These experiences make us worthy and make us feel that the process of being vulnerable is our edge to grow. And then we can be brave enough to stand in the infinite power of our own light. So if you have a story, find someone that you can trust. Find a friend that you can trust, or write it in your journal so you can trust yourself to read it. Because sometimes you can share it with a friend and it's the wrong kind of friend. And Brene points that out. It can be the kind of friend that says, oh, it brushes it off. Oh, that's nothing. This is what happened to me. And then they go off on their story and yours gets unheard still. Or they can confirm and they say, that is horrible, you're horrible, and they can make you feel less than. That's not very helpful as a friend. The person that responds with sympathy and just says, oh, you poor little thing. Oh, bless your little heart. Bless your little heart for going through that. The one that wants you to stay perfect. And if you're sharing your imperfections, you're letting her down. You're letting that friend down. So you have to realize, even in the moment of sharing, is that the ingredients of the friendship that you're starting to witness? Because we're always going to find those people that can one-up our story, and then we're still a little bit lost. What we're talking about is finding a sense of just being. I am in this now. That's presence process. And once we tell it, we can just say to people, I don't need any advice here. I just need to unload this. So, no approval needed. We are enough, seeing that we are worthy of love, worthy of connection, and be willing to see the triggers of blame or shame. That invitation is a doorway to experience our worthiness. Find your areas where you're hiding. The science of mind point of view with this is the principle of science of mind that speaks very loudly about ourselves being spiritual beings in the image and likeness of the one, of the thing itself. That's what Earnest Holmes would say. Our inherent worth is already given. There's only one life. That life is my life. That life is God's life. Remember those? You start to realize that testimony of this faith path that we're on. We were born perfect. Doesn't mean you have to be a perfectionist, but we were born perfect. And that remains a constant throughout your life. And so you can shine your light, always remembering that one truth. And Earnest Holmes also writes that what stands between us and this good is only a thing of thought. I knew that while I was on that table. I was thinking up all the stuff, all the garbage. And the thoughts can stand in the way. The thoughts can stand in such a way that we can doubt our worth. We start to listen. And that sense of unworthiness or shame keeps us from living out loud what we're talking about all year and living authentically. It keeps us separate from others. We guide it, we hide it, and we're allowing ourselves to... I'm sorry, I got distracted out there. So shame. Shame is the feeling that we feel when we believe there is something wrong with us. It's different than feeling badly. You know, years ago, Dr. James Golden had a creative living groups. There was just 6 people would show up for this. And I remember one time when I was in there and the gal came in and she started saying, I'm going to talk about shame. And I thought, I'm glad I don't have that one. And I thought, well, I can really listen up on this one. By the time I was done, I wanted to crawl out like a worm. I felt like, oh, that's what that is. That's what's nagging at me. It was very healing to step into that arena. But shame is that feeling that we feel when we believe there's something wrong with us. It's different than feeling badly about words or actions. It's that innate feeling that something's flawed and it's not really the truth. So this opportunity is to know yourself. Through journaling, through the classes that I'm beating you over the head about, introspection, meditation, spiritual practice, therapy, reading, social hall. Bring awareness to your true self and bring that forth. Shine your light. It takes courage and it takes bold honesty. But we're not looking for approval when we're sharing. Remember that you don't need any validation. You just need to be able to hone in on that sweet, still, small voice inside of you that will never lead you wrong. This is being invested in the true self. Earnest Holmes says, there is something within you, beyond all doubt, beyond all fear, something that has never been limited by your acts or destroyed by your feelings. This is the only something that can make you whole. You belong to the universe in which you live. You are one with the creative genius back of the vast array of ceaseless motion, this original flow of life. This is all Earnest Holmes. You don't have to despise your personality or say, I hate this body, I'm a worm of the dust, and think that you're surrendering to God. When you deny yourself, you deny the divine. And when you allow this just to open, all you have to say is, there's nothing here but God in me. So we stop condemning ourselves. That's the worst condemnation there possibly could be. And then we're not then reaching out to condemn others. It becomes a two-way street there as we heal that in us. And finally, he says, the road to self-discovery calls for the clearing away of the underbrush of ignorance, fear, superstition, and a sense of being isolated, which makes us feel we are unworthy, unheld, and lost. In the divine providence of good, salvation is unnecessary, but self-discovery is essential. This is a real turning point of this philosophy. You hear that. Salvation is not what we're looking for. Self-discovery is where our answers lie. We do not save that which was lost. We merely discover that which needs to be found. It really flips it, Earnest Holmes. So, now in your prayers of heart, allow yourself to claim your worthiness. Begin there. You know, years ago, I remember going to hear Guru Mai, and there was this clever moment in one of her talks. She was head of the Siddha Yoga organization. And she was impressing the point, don't think that you have to seek approval at the cost of your sense of self. And what she said, don't sell your soul for a hot dog. I know, I chuckled at that, and I thought, oh, that is so dang clever. That has been a common statement that's brought up between Charlie and I at times when this kind of scenario comes up. Oh, don't sell your soul for a hot dog. And I really don't know what it means. But for another level, I get it. And I just have always appreciated it. Because we don't want to sell out our authentic self. Living out loud is asking us to find our way home, to live in wholeness. So much about this. There was an anonymous quote says, when you know your worth, no one can make you feel worthless. Can you remember that? Walk out of here today with just that, knowing I am worthy. You can let go of all the stress and the anxiety. So I'm going to invite Judy up to play us the music that allows us to relax into our own true nature. And there was one more beautiful quote, and I think it's because I'm a grandmother now. We accept our grandchildren for the unique beings they are. This acceptance gives them the confidence to feel they are worthy of the deep love they are given. It helps them see the universe is safe. We need to do that not just with our grandchildren, but with each other. To feel that there is this worthiness to love ourselves as a high calling, necessary. So we make the choice, and we walk our talk, and we believe in ourselves, and we respect our true nature is always honing in to be its highest and its best. So go ahead, Judy. Allow you to relax your shoulders. If your heart has felt pinched at all in anything that I shared, open to the love in this room. This is holy space. Michael Beckwith reminds us, just hug yourself. Just hug yourself. Transcend those thought forms. Anything that comes up about unworthiness, about not being good enough, about being unsupported, because the universal presence is right here with you. Hug yourself. Any thought form that would in any way not be in alignment with the absolute truth, you are cradled, enveloped, and loved by a presence that is never absent. So important to drop the voices, drop the critic, turn away, and face the light within you. That divinity, that call of the God within you, whatever you name that which you can solely trust, it's got your back. It stands with you, breathes with you, informs you. You're never alone. It is the greatest love. And so as we witness our connection to that divinity, to that resource, we hug into that, knowing I am most worthy. I am most worthy. I love myself. I love myself as I am. And as I am becoming, I love that. As we each allow ourselves the courage to really root ourselves into that knowing, those other voices become quiet, and all that we hear and feel then is a sweet smile of deep, abiding contentment that we got this, that we've got this. In this knowing, I give gratitude for the amazing testimonies of so many people that have walked this talk and shared the way and reached out their hands to each one of us to help lead us forward. And as we turn around and we hold our hand out to a friend and say, "Come, let me hold you." It's love. It's love. It's healing. It's what we do. So thank you, God. More and more, the Center for Spiritual Living is indeed the beacon of light, calling us home. With such gratitude, with such grace, I release this prayer knowing somehow, some way, it has touched your heart. It is the sunshine of your day. Thank you, God. And so it is. Thank you. George. Thank you, Judy. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you. Thank you all. This has been an interesting day. See if I can. I think I've eaten too many hot dogs. Somehow my soul finds its way back, tells me I've got things to do. It's a long way out, turning home. The rivers all are wide. The answers that you found will carry you to the other side. The voice that echoes in your heart tells you you must try. So you begin to make your way into the morning. To the morning where everything is new. The morning where the light will shine for you. The morning where you try once more to be true. So you turn your steps once more into the morning. Your broken vessel overflows, will tell you where to go. Give credit now where credit's due. You've never been alone. When you open up your eyes into the morning. The morning where everything is new. The morning where the light will shine for you. The morning where you try once more to be true. You turn your steps once more into the morning. Well, I'll say no more as life turns into light upon the way. And my words cannot explain the truth, nor clearly show the way. But loving is the teacher who comes to us each day as we begin to make our way into the morning. The morning where everything is new. To the morning where the light will shine for you. The morning where you try once more to be true. Yes, you turn your steps once more into the morning. You turn and step once more into the morning.
May I have the ushers come forward, please? Every time. As I prepare to give my offering, my heart is filled with love and appreciation, since what is offered here today is for my spiritual well-being. I am filled with gratitude, knowing life stays in balance, for as I give, I receive. I give thanks for the blessed donations received in the offering this morning and during the week. I know each dollar supports the family, spiritual family in many ways as we grow together, pray together, and give thanks for all this sinner has been blessed with today and always. And so it is.
I wonder what would happen if I played this in the key that it was meant to be played in. It's a long way out and turning home. The river's old and wide. The answers that you found can carry you to the other side. Looking in the mirror, some stranger tells you that you've tried. So you turn and make your way into the morning. The morning where everything is new. The morning when the light will shine for you. The morning where you try once more to be true. You turn and make your way into the morning. Oh, 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 come on now. This is called The River, and I'm going to do it anyway. Oh, 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 the river, oh boy, that knows your name. And your tears, they fall down like the rain. All around you, suffering pain. But the river knows your name. And the river hears you cry when the lightning cracks the open sky. As your mama sings a lullaby. Oh, the river, she knows why. Let the river wash you down. Leave the surface with a rushing sound. Like a freight train passing through a town. Let the river wash you down. And let the river take away all the words you and I should never say. In the silence, darling, let us pray. Let the river take it all away. Oh, the river knows your name. From the Wabash to the Brazos to the Seine. There's no two journeys ever quite the same. But the river knows your name. Yes, the river knows your name. Thank you.
George, thank you. Your heart sings through you. It really is beautiful. You know, when I mentioned the star chart, when I got into my teens, I think that's when that disappeared. But isn't it music like this that you used to find your solace? It spoke to you. It was like, you know, all of the music that you bring is from that era of time. And I know we all from different generations, that music can speak to us, and it can be the voice that's trying to express a feeling that we have. You're gifted with that, so thank you. Just brings the message home, and I feel like we're all on that river together, floating into our own truth. So what a special day. Enjoy now. The social hall is Friendship Sunday, so you got your name tag on. You don't have to be embarrassed if you don't know who's across from you, unless their scarf covers it up and you're calling them half themselves. But enjoy the bookstore. There is a bunch of new things in there that are just delightful, and from all kinds of things, little pots of seeds for getting ready for Earth Day. So lots of gifts if you're an Easter shopper. And this art for just one more week. It closes down next week. So have a beautiful day. Thank you for your attention, for your hearts, for your smiles, and for living your truth. Thank you.